Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of the Rip Trip Pod. Today, we have a very special guest. This is one of my good friends, Danny Tran. He is a friend, he is an amazing coach as well, very successful businessman as well. And so, I'm very excited to have him on board and talk about his story and what has worked for him to scale his fitness coaching business to 7 figures. He's been at it for a long time. So, Danny, great to have you on board, bro.
Appreciate you having me. Super excited, boys.
Course, of course. We always love to kick it off very quickly. Like, can you dive into your story? How did you get in the space? What is the path? I think you said you've been in the space for 6 or 7 years now. What does that journey look like? And kind of catch us up to speed to current date.
I will say my personal development journey started when I was like 15, 16. So a lot earlier for most people, right? But I
Mm.
think my parents being immigrants, refugees coming to the States, it really instilled that vision, that discipline for me of just really being aware that, hey, they came over here to allow me to have an opportunity to be able to be a best. So that's why for me personally now doing entrepreneurship and kind of building the business, it's always like the one why that keeps me going, right? Because
Mm.
for them to escape, bro, not know English to come over here and build a business of their own, I literally can't be anything worse, right? It's almost like I'm disrespecting them by not being at my best, you know? So at 15, 16, I really realized that because all the stories he would tell me. But any job that I've ever gotten into, it was always coaching, right? Always like organically coaching, right? Whether I coached like gymnastics, cheerleading, I was a cheerleader in college, right? And I did all that. So the cool thing is, the passions that I got into in terms of coaching was so organic that till this day, being 29, like I've never had a job that I disliked, right? So knowing now, that's why I got baptized this year as well. Everything that kind of paved the road for me to be a coach and serve, it wasn't a coincidence, right? It's everything I prayed for. So when I first started 15, 16, getting into the whole like fitness space is because I mean, it was weird. People always tell me like, man, it was just a small incident that really got you into this. I went to homecoming, super drunk with the wrong group of people. And then I had to go sit in the principal's office and pretty much my dad had to come pick me up. And that really sparked me to like get into the gym, right? Because I really hated that feeling, and that's why I don't really like party do all that. I do it every now and then, but that's what kind of keeps me going. It's crazy that I was 15, 16. Looking back, that's what really got me into fitness, dude. Like I hated the feeling. I hated disappointing my parents. So the next week I was like, hey dad, like I need to get a gym membership. And at that time I was 15, bro, 16. I couldn't sign up for a gym membership. So he had a co-sign for me, and I would work part-time for him to collect money to pay for my gym membership,
Mm.
and I got really deep into it, bro. Bodybuilding.com, YouTube was coming at that time. Fitness was not where it is today, right? Everybody does fitness now, and at that time, dude, I was like researching, getting into like my own like nutrition and training, right? Really solidifying that with myself. And once I got into that, man, like being the competitive nature from like wrestling and cheerleading in high school, I was like, man, I really want to get into like competing, right? And this is when bodybuilding was like slowly coming up to like social media level. And I prepped myself when I was like 16, 17 in high school. And I placed third at the first show. And I was hooked, bro. It was my first thing that I did out of my own. I didn't follow in the footsteps of my older brother of doing his thing. I was like, I'm going to do this fitness thing. And that really changed the development for me. And that's why I continue to do it to this day. One small change, bro, from just like drinking, making a mistake, disappointing my parents one time. And then through that journey, bro, that's why most of the time I'm like, I don't really drink, not
Mhm.
crazy.
That's wild, bro. That's
Yeah.
crazy. How did
Yeah.
it develop from there, from just getting into like, hey, I just want to do this fitness thing, to then growing it to the scale that you're at now?
Yeah, dude. So once I got into, the fitness game, competing, whatnot, doing my first show at a young age, going through college at that time, being the middle child, my parents were, they were being the Asian parents, right? Pushing me to be a doctor, pushing me to be a dentist. And it's very stereotypical, but it's true, And at that time, I was like, man, I was getting into my biology degree, going into like sophomore to junior of college, dude, I flipped it, bro. I was like, I'm going to do my shit because at that time, I was in the back of the class making workout programs, selling for 20, 30 bucks, and I just hear my phone just like ding, ding, making all these, like I'm getting paid 20, 30 bucks, right? And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Like this is me starting my business, right? But I didn't realize it. 2020 hindsight, going through that whole thing, bro, like just doing fitness and really like putting my whole passion into it, it really helped me like find my true why, right? Which is like serving. I felt like I really built my version up to the man I truly want to be and I couldn't uphold all that energy, right? I needed to give it to somebody, right? And that's why doing the fitness coaching now, it never feels like a job, man. Like past 7 years, I never feel like I've worked, And sometimes I had to take a step back and realize, like, dude, that's everything I prayed for, right? That's like gratitude at the highest that I can actually achieve, right? But it's like new levels to everything, right? Once you reach a certain threshold of like gratitude, there's like the next level. It's just searching within, really finding like what really got you there and what ticks you. That's what kind of helped me go into coaching at that time because I joined a team. Okay. And then one of the coaches that I had in the past, he's like, man, you can be really good at this, And this is when I was doing social media, I was doing YouTube, and he really pulled me into it. It's like, hey, I don't know what you want to do after college. And this is the time I switched from biology to kinesiology, right? And that's when I started running through those classes, bro. Because I was doing bodybuilding at the same time I was like educating in school. Once I graduated, I took the jump. I was like, hey, I want to do this online coaching thing. And at that time, dude, it was just Word documents, right? Word documents, emails, and that was it, right? There was no systems, nothing like that. Very old school. And then once online coaching took off, dude, from the first month I like started, we went from like 0 to 30 clients, the one I put on my Instagram, and that's when everything changed, bro.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Full time.
One thing I think you've done very well is posting a lot of content and the right kind of content to get a ton of leads into the door. What has been your strategy? What would you recommend? Let's say somebody has got like a coaching business. They're teaching fitness as well, or whatever it might be, kind of in that space, and they're doing, let's say they're doing already like 10, 20K a month. They have something going for them. If they want to ramp it up, what would you recommend? Like what strategies have worked for you or for TP as well?
Yeah, so I feel like nowadays, since the game is changing, strategy is one thing, which definitely need to grow and scale business. But I think as a lot of people don't look internally, right? Your internal struggles is your content strategy because you have already went through that personal development that a lot of people don't understand, right? So if people can build relatability of you actually building the thing and you walking through it, they will have more trust in you, and it will never be a certain strategy that can pull them in, right? They're already like, man, this guy has went through the struggles. I know his story. I trust him, right? And at the beginning, that's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
So that's the strategy, man. At the end of the day, there's hundreds of strategies out there, a lot of systems that could be utilized, ads and whatnot, but organically, man, speaking about your story authentically and just showing
Mhm.
every side of you, whether you enjoy going to parties, hey, you make mistakes, you make struggles, that is what people want to follow into, right? They don't want to see the perfect person. The perfect is too far-fetched for that person to achieve, right?
Yeah.
So showing each side of, hey, you're also human is what drives all of that, man.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on too. Is we kind of talked about this on some previous podcasts, like with Austin as well. I think what makes people successful is not like, hey, this little hack or this little story sequence that you can post. It comes down to the fundamentals, right? So whether it's with sales or whether for you it's with content, like it comes down to, hey, I have my story here and I have my why, and then everything comes from that. Whereas if you're trying to just like follow these specific little strategies or hacks or tweaks, whatever, like it's going to be very, very short lived. What are some practical ways that you found? Like, what are the best ways to share your story though, through whether it's stories or reels? Do you kind of have a game plan in mind throughout the week? Or is it literally just like, this came to mind, I'm posting it right away and that's it?
100%. Yeah. So every single week, what I've learned getting into business to really scale is creating a theme for each week, right? So one
Mm,
week it can be about different struggles and maybe wrapping that up and completely talking about struggles all week. And then the following week, you talk a little bit about motivation, right? And that's the theme for
mm,
the whole week because people like to follow a reality TV show. Okay. People like to be a part of something. So when they can follow, like, man, this guy was struggling this week, which I'm going to make a story on how I've been feeling as a coach,
mm,
right? Of what's happening. And then how I actually break it out. Because most people don't realize when you are in the problem, when you are struggling, it is hard to talk about it until you're completely out of it,
yeah.
right? When you speak about your problems a lot to somebody, you eventually find the solution to it, right? But most people, right, most coaches who get in the game, they feel like I can't talk about my struggles because my pride, my ego is going to be dropped, right? So the more authentically you can let that come to fruition and say, hey guys, I'm completely struggling with this, but I'm going to walk you through how I get out of this, dude, that changes the game, right? That is what true coaching is. Most people
Mhm,
think coaching is just protocols being sent out like, hey, these are the adjustments you need to make. But that's the flip
mhm,
side. Like when you can understand like what the person's going through and actually teaching them like live through your stories, man, dude, people will relate with you on a complete different level and they'll actually already feel like they know you. right?
Mm.
That's where the trust is built. And at that point, you've already shaken their hand, and all they have to do is get ready to reach out at that point.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
Very
fire.
powerful.
Quick question. I love the strategy and obviously being genuine, showing the highs and the lows. I think it's super powerful for gaining trust, like you mentioned. I'm curious though, do you think that there's a point in time in somebody's coaching journey? Let's say they don't have a lot of clients yet, they don't have a lot of credibility. Do you think there's a time where it's too early for them? Like if they are in that low pit to be
Right.
talking about their struggles right then and there, what would you suggest to that person who doesn't have a whole lot of clients, doesn't have a whole lot of following, doesn't have a whole lot of motion just yet, but they're in that valley of despair per se? How do you get out of that rut? Or how did you, if you were ever in that case?
100%. Just like any business, you start at ground zero, right? So you're like, man, is my story even worthy to tell? Right. And I feel like people are like, man, is there enough value into this? Like, why do people want to watch? But at the end of the day, man, like when you can really hang out, even if you have, let's say, 10 followers on your IG, those are 10 qualified people that will follow you until you've reached 100K followers, right? Those are people that are going to buy. So maybe in the beginning, you're like, man, do I continue to post? But at the end of the day, it's consistency, right? It's consistency. There's no hack, there's no strategy in the beginning. It's literally getting uncomfortable, putting yourself out there and speaking on your story that you truly believe in. It's not a made up story, right? Because you went through the struggles and it comes off so authentic and you're speaking from the heart that people can feel it, because nowadays, man, through social media, you can smell through bullshit. You know what I mean? Like people have a nose for smelling bullshit, you know? So when people truly know you, man, it's a wrap, and you can't be afraid to share it though, right? You can't be afraid to share it because if you just do what time does, man, time moves forward and you do the same thing, you follow time, eventually you start to develop yourself into a really good coach. And actually what true coaching is. There's no plug and play done for you. Coaching is like getting to the root cause, like where that person is, meeting them there, and then guiding them back up.
Yeah. And I think that's also what stands out nowadays in this age of like so much AI slop, where you can tell everybody's caption, for example, or like the whole reel that they made was just like, prompted by GPT or something like that. And it's like, all right, bro, this is not real.
Your
So
eye, your eyes moving, they're like moving here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm curious, how often are you dropping, or do you even do this like within your reels or your stories? How often are you dropping some like call to actions as well to then, you're building all this trust with these people, they're buying into your personality. Do you just let them like come to you whenever, or are you saying like, hey, I feel like right now on this day is a good day to drop some kind of call to action where you can DM me or drop it in a reel or a comment? Like, what's your strategy there?
Yeah. So one thing is once the engagement starts to ride up pretty high, right?
Mhm.
Whether you're setting some sort of controversy where it gets really hot and cold and you're starting to feel people kind of fight back, it's a perfect time to go ahead and set that call to action, right? Because you have these people who are arguing against your point and your purpose and your message. It's the perfect time for them to realize, like, hey, this guy actually has something that I need, right? Like he's saying something that I don't see. And it gives them a very aha moment where it's like, man, like this guy has some creative value that I need to really grow myself. And it's a really perfect way because there's so much through the store. People are commenting back and forth. And you're like, perfect time to drop it in.
That's fire. That's
Yeah.
great. So you kind of just ride the wave as
Yeah.
soon
You can
as
feel
you
it.
see that. Yeah.
You can feel it. Yeah. You can feel it because the biggest thing I've noticed is once it gets very hot and cold through your comments, the algorithm starts moving, right? And then you have random people that will just get into that don't follow you. That's the time to have that touch point with that new person, right? Now you spit more value, you spit more lessons through it. Now you have all these touch points to really ride that gains that trust.
And then when it comes to the setting process, obviously you mentioned like for you, you've been doing your own setting, no VAs, no nothing like that. What is your process there? I remember we talked about this one time I bumped into you at Shortwave. You were telling me about how you set people. But yeah, what's your mentality there? What are some strategies that you can share with people if they're also, they don't have crazy volume yet and they can keep up with their DMs? Like, what's the strategy there?
Well, to be honest, once you've really gotten a lot of volume through your DMs, the biggest thing is don't make yourself so relative available, right? Because if they know that you're reaching out way too fast, it's either an AI or you're just not real, right? You're just trying to gain them. So the biggest thing is when people reach out, personally, maybe I'll just like it, send them a voice text, whatever, and I just leave it, right? Because they have to want the desire to work with you so much, they send another one, right? And then they keep sending it to a point where you kind of set them up to like, hey man, like I think it's very beneficial for us to hop on that call, right? You've been asking me, you've been liking my stuff, you've given me a lot of fire emojis. Like, when are you going to start your journey? Boom, you pull them in, and then they're like, all right, I'm ready, right? Because it's just like anything, bro. Like all celebrities through Instagram influencers, you notice there's so many comments, they never comment back, right? So it leaves this person that's very valuable. They're like, man, this guy doesn't want to talk to me. What's up? You know what I mean? Like, does he not want my money? Take my card.
Mhm.
Eventually, the card will be pulled, brother. So, just a couple of different ways, man. Just like learning the person, how they speak, how they write, how they articulate their text. You can tell when their desire is there to really, shoot the gun and go for it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How much do you find yourself also just challenging people and like beginning to coach them in the DMs already, where you're essentially calling them out for certain like limiting beliefs that they might have or whatever that might be? Like, how often are you doing that, and what's your
I do it all the
process
time.
there?
I do it all the time. You know what I mean? Because one thing is if they drop all this, struggle on top of me, at that point, man, I know exactly where it's stemming from, right? If you can write me a whole paragraph like your ex-girlfriend just broke up with you and it's just like
Mm.
text on text, they already need the help, right? In the beginning, they just want you to give all the value for free, right? So maybe I'll give them a couple of tips, but I won't dive in completely into it. Keep it very generic till they keep asking more. And then I'll give them like certain aha moments, like, hey, you're eating 1,800 calories, bro. Like these are things aren't working, right? It's like, hey, these habits are off. That's why it's not, treading forward to the mission you're trying to get to.
I love that. What are some things? Obviously, you've grown your business significantly over this past year, especially just, and it's been awesome to see that
Yeah.
entire process. What are some things that you wish you knew ahead of time, and something that or a few things even that you would recommend to people if they're where you were like a year or two ago and they're trying to scale to seven figures essentially with their coaching business? What would you recommend to them?
Don't take things too personal, man. When you're working with people, sometimes we have a way of reacting emotionally, right? But you gotta understand at the end of the day, man, it is business, right? And whether they use your service or not, you have to understand you got to be professional at it every single time. That's why personally for me, it's like any text or any response that I get from my athlete, I take time, right? I either take a deep breath, I have to be in the headspace to respond because it's not like I don't see notifications, right? And I'm there to be there, make sure you're getting good value, whatever it is, but I have to make sure I'm in the right headspace, right? And if when I'm too readily available and I'm just responding all the time, I might not be in the headspace, and there's like an unprofessional flaw about it that I just don't like, right? So that would exactly be the tip I give to my younger self, like, hey, take time, be professional at it, right? And don't put so much emotion into, the actual conversation.
Yeah, that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah.
Have you tried running ads as well during that process, or was it just all organic?
I've definitely boosted a couple things. I haven't ran like serious ads to a certain demographic,
Hmm.
right? It's crazy because my whole niche is wild, bro. Right? There's a whole saying, it's like, hey, if you help everybody, you help nobody, right?
Mm.
But I've helped every person in every like industry you can ever think about. And I think it comes down to just my personality, right? Whether I have kids, I'm married or not, dude, I can almost get to their level and understand where they're at to bring them up, you know?
Yeah.
So it's for me personally, man, it's knowing how to draw the line, right? I draw the line from being a friend and also draw the line being a coach, right? Setting the standard high enough so they know, like, hey, if you are, bucking off, you're not doing the right things, I'm going to pull you back in line, right? Because that's where my true fulfillment comes from. You know,
Hmm.
it's cool, man.
Yeah.
To have a domino effect to see somebody truly change their life, bro. I tell people all the time, bro. Something could happen to me, I could die peacefully, bro. No, no, I
Mm.
just served. I'm continuing to serve whether I feel like it or not. And it's crazy because if I had to tell my younger self one thing, man, just be okay with where you're at. Be where your feet are.
Mm.
Be where your feet are, man. Because one thing is you pour into so many people, not a lot of people ask you if you're okay. And that's when you have to sit with yourself and be like, hey, dude, I am okay. You know, serving, but sometimes you just gotta relax a little bit, just appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think, at least what I've noticed with you versus like other people that have tried to grow a fitness coaching business or whatever. It's like for you, you find so much fulfillment from it. And there's a strong, strong reason behind it rather than just someone that's like, oh, I want to make some quick cash, you know what I mean, from it.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time, bro. It's a plug and play. I mean, you can get somebody to lose weight very fast, right? Get them moving,
Yeah.
get them eating right, get them moving. Very simple, but personally for me, it's like you got to dive deeper, man. You got to find the root cause, and a lot of people don't realize they want to be the Lambo, but they keep putting regular gas in the car,
Mm.
and you got to work backwards a little bit, get them optimized internally, look at lab work, get those things situated where they can actually perform day to day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's been yeah, no, that's very, very powerful. From what I'm picking up on, you also would kind of say like, because right now I see two camps where people are like, you are the niche, which is kind of where I think you fall into. versus other people will say like, oh, I only serve this type of person, achieve this specific kind of result. What would you recommend to someone as well? Which I'm guessing it would be just kind of what we talked about so far. It's just like no need to niche down. Just literally be yourself and like document your journey, document what you're going through, your process. I guess that's been a lot more of the successful kind of route for you that you've taken.
100%. I think that just the changing pace of how the industry is going, whatever industry you're in, through AI, through social media, I truly believe if you can be your own avatar and be at the best of it, then there's a lot of relatabilities in that, right? Because I can personally niche down to just Asian men, right? But I understand what Asian men go through, right? Everybody's pushed to be a doctor. Everybody's pushed to be a certain way, how cultures work. But I can relate that to being an Asian guy who wants to be a doctor and also being jacked, you know?
Yeah.
But the Asian guy has also gone through the same story, bro, at some point, right? So I truly believe to really scale and grow, be your best avatar, man. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
continue to fully develop yourself to the highest level you can, because now you can actually step back and understand the lessons you went through. You know, coaching
Yeah.
is that, bro. Coaching is that. I feel like a lot of people don't look at coaching as that. They think it's just like, hey, bro, do this, do this, do this, right? But it's like when you personally develop as a coach, it's like playing Mario and collecting coins. Okay. You collect coins, you get to a certain level, right? I'm not 250 pounds at 5'7" just because I eat and train hard. You know what I mean? It takes a certain level of development to continue to ride to those levels. That's why some people stay
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 250 pounds at 5'7" is crazy, by the way.
Yeah. That's what I'm
That's
saying, bro.
that's
Yeah.
elite levels.
I've
Yeah.
heard your leg workouts are not fun to attend.
Yeah. It gets there. But I will
Yeah,
say,
bro.
you'll be proud of me, bro. I ran a mile yesterday on a treadmill.
Oh, let's go.
Mhm.
I mean, I need to see a video of it too, bro.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah. So I ran a mile on
Yeah.
the treadmill and then I did some crazy burpee circuit with like an ab core workout and then some
Yeah.
box.
Hell yeah. That's what's
Yeah.
up.
That's the
That's
goal this year,
good.
bro. I want to be as physically fit as I can and also be able to, gain the size I can. So again, be well versed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I
Tommy,
have
you
a
got any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You've been talking a lot about your faith and what really drives you and what fulfills you. I'm curious with where you're at right now with the coaching. You've been in the space for what, 6, 7 years. Are you pretty content with what you're doing right now? How many people you're serving, how much money you're making, or do you have big ambitions for the future to blow something else up, or do you think you're going to stay in coaching for? What's next in store for you? I'm curious.
Well, I will say, I feel like coaching itself, thinking further long term, there is a stopping point, right? Like I don't want to be 40, 50, still coaching, right? There's got to be a stopping point. Personally, for me, I definitely, since I branched off and kind of did my own thing, I've been in fitness for 12 years. I've been in the game, right? Coaching 7. So yes, I definitely want to continue to scale it out, right? But also be able to still, there's a point where if my lifestyle starts to like minimize, I don't get to enjoy it, then I'll personally pull back, right? If I say, for example, hey, like 200K a month, let's do this, but everything else around me kind of stops my fulfillment, then I would drop it. So that's the big thing. As much money as I want to make, if I can't continue being present with my wife, if I can't continue being on Sundays, going to church and actually being present, because all I'm doing is focusing on the next number, then I'll pull back.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
that. Totally makes sense. Yeah. You gotta have the right priorities in place, the right values in place. I think that's huge. That's huge.
100%. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I will say just being married now, it's a completely different game.
Mm.
Completely different game, right? Because obviously, I mean, she wants a farm, she wants some goats, she wants to be like present and be that. And so when you get to that level, right, your true priorities really change, bro. Your priorities really change, right? Because you're not just doing it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
if you're trying to take care of somebody, you shook the hand for her father, and you're like, yo, I promise you, take care regardless. Happens if we're on the side street, like you got to push through. It gives you a really big why, man. Like that fire continues to burn every single day, you
Mm.
know? And I think every man, once you get to that level where you shake the hand of the parent and you're like, yo, I'm going to take care of your daughter, whatever, thick and thin, no divorce, whatever. And you truly say that with meaning, bro. It's a different game, man. You know, I personally don't believe in prenups. I don't believe in divorce.
Mm.
I personally don't, right? Regardless of anything. So, yeah, it's a different game, man. That's my next level of personal development, being the best dad I can. You know, Eric, I will say, bro, I'm about to be 30 this year, right? And there's just a switch randomly happened, brother. You know?
At 30?
Yeah, dude. I just been thinking, like, man, like I don't want a little kid right now. Randomly, bro. I was like, you know what I mean? You just could tell love like,
Yeah.
wouldn't mind having a kid, you know? And it's just like 3 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. 3 years ago. Randomly, bro.
Yeah.
I was talking to her and I was like, we were doing some Bible study. We were just kind of going over some things. Like, I wouldn't mind having one, you know? And it's crazy because like that's like the end goal, bro. You know? Just
Yeah,
having
bro.
a present growing that, it's fucking insane, bro.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's the dream, bro. And I
Yeah.
can definitely see that. Bunch of little jacked kids
Yeah.
running around.
Yeah, dude.
That's amazing.
It's cool because
Amazing.
I'm gonna watch this podcast like years down the line and be like, ha, remember this moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, dude, I love it. I think it's very rare to find in the space too, where people have good values, good priorities set in their life. There's a lot of people that can be ultra money hungry, and I think striving for more is always an amazing thing as well. But when you take care of these other aspects of your life, I think also in turn you become a better coach. You can help your clients so much more, and obviously that's very, very fulfilling too. But amazing stuff, bro. I think we'll wrap it up here. Tom, do you have any other questions or not
No,
much
brother,
anymore?
we appreciate your time. It's been awesome. I love how you went in depth beyond just the coaching, but about your
Yeah.
life, what's next for you. And this has been super, super powerful. And anyone who's watching this video, if you guys need to get your life in check, if you're at a low point or really just looking for some extra accountability, you know who to go to. Danny obviously does it for reasons beyond just the coaching. So we'll add his links down in the bottom. Eric, thanks for putting this together, and hope you guys enjoyed.
Yes, sir. All righty. We'll catch you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.